Hello everybody, welcome back to Screen Stars and welcome to another of my misunderstood movie reviews. Today's misunderstood movie review is for the 1999 horror comedy, I guess is the best way to describe it, Ravenous, a film that is directed by Antonia Bird and it stars Guy Pearce, Robert Carlyle, David Arquette, Jeremy Davis, Jeffrey Jones and John Spencer. And this is a film that tells the story of a remote military outpost in the 19th century where Guy Pearce's character, Captain John Boyd, is basically sent to rot. He did a cowardly act during a battle. He played dead just so that he could survive the battle. And then he does one act of courage. He gets rewarded, he gets like a medal for his bravery, even though everyone's aware he's a coward, so they want rid of him. So they send him to this remote outpost, basically. So he's struggling with what he's done. He gets to this outpost, and then this outpost is visited by Robert Carlyle's character, who tells this terrible tale of this trail of wagons that were heading across the west that ended up getting stuck in some caves over the winter and turned to cannibalism. It's a really terrifying story. And immediately Colonel Hart, played by Jeffrey Jones, declares that they have to go and see if there's anybody left alive. So they trek out there. However, what follows is a tale of horror, cannibalism and a few giggles along the way, I guess. So what are my thoughts really on Ravenous? Well, this was a film that I could have put in a few categories. I certainly could have put it in a classic film review because I do think it's a classic film. I think it's a forgotten gem, is this film. But the reason why I've put it in my misunderstood movie reviews is for that reason, really. It's a gem of a movie that not many people have seen, that at the time when it came out was completely mismarketed. I don't think the studio knew what to do with this film. I mean, honestly, like I said, a cannibal comedy almost. It's a really quirky, interesting film that just works. Now, an interesting story here is I first saw this film in 2005, and I saw this film in Sri Lanka. Now, I got married in Sri Lanka, and I saw this film on the night before I got married in 2005. My wife was in a family member's room, obviously, because we weren't seeing each other the night before the wedding. They'd left in the hotel room, and there was like their version of Sky Movies or whatever pay-per-view movies there. And I watched this, so I ordered room service, and I watched this film the night before I got married. I'd never seen it before, and I bloody loved it. I watched it twice. It was absolutely fantastic. I loved it. And funnily enough, it is my wedding anniversary in 2 days. So it's almost 15 years to the day that I first saw this film. I just thought it was quite interesting that I've revisited this film. Not because I was thinking about it because of my wedding anniversary. I just revisited it because I hadn't seen it in a while. And it just so happens to coincide with my wedding anniversary, if you like. Anyway, I digress a little bit. I just thought that was interesting, certainly to me. Now, this film, I think, is certainly an acquired taste. It is the aspects of horror in this film work brilliantly. I mean, when Robert Carlyle turns up and he tells this horrific story of cannibalism, when those in his wagon train had resorted to cannibalism, it's truly terrifying. And I remember at the time, the first time I watched this, I went cold listening to it. It terrified me. And then what happens when they go out to this wagon train, I didn't expect. And I'm not going to spoil the film, because in case you haven't seen it, because I don't think enough people have seen this film, and I want you to go watch this to be surprised. But when they get out there, what happened next really surprised me. I didn't expect it, and it just was wonderful. And there's some absolutely brilliant one-liners in this film. I can't tell you. Its tongue's firmly in its cheek, this film, but it's really hard hitting at the same time, and gritty and realistic, and they've really captured the feel of the time and how horrible it must have been really to live in these times. It just didn't look pleasant at all. Everybody's enjoying this film. Guy Pearce gives a really interesting performance here that was reasonably early in his career. The standout here is Robert Carlyle, who eats every single scene that he's in. He's brilliant. But I also think Jeffrey Jones, who is, you know, a genre genius, really. You tell me a film where he's not been brilliant, and I'll call you a liar, because Jeffrey Jones is just an absolute genius. I love him in pretty much everything I've ever seen him in, and he's no different here. He's so good in this film, and it's one of those films that I think you can completely understand why no one watched this at the time or since, but it has really garnered like a cult following. This film, there are an army of fans, a growing army of fans that think this is a forgotten classic, and I completely do agree with them. It's really nuanced, and it not only manages to tell the tale of cannibalism and the Old West, and the gritty realism, and throw a bit of comedy in there. I mean, it does everything so well, and it even manages to get powerful messages across in regards to certain subject matters, and the the I don't know. There's all sorts of. I'm trying not to spoil things because I don't want to ruin it for you if you've never seen this film. It's just a great film, a great watch, and it was such a shame that this film didn't find an audience at the time. And you can understand it, I suppose. The studios, when they probably saw it, they thought, what the hell are we going to do with this? And the director who was brought on board because the original director was actually fired because of the direction he wanted to take it in. So Robert Carlyle brought his friend over from the UK, Antonia Bird, a female director who he'd worked with on some British productions. And she didn't really like the Hollywood system, and she delivered an absolutely brilliant film here. It was her last Hollywood film, I believe, and I think she passed away in 2013. But honestly, if you've never seen Ravenous, it's one you have to check out. It is a bit of an acquired taste. It's an odd film at times, but it's really brilliant too.